Guido Westerwelle bound for Geneva, and a session of the UN's Human Rights Council focused on the situation in Libya and the future of North Africa. Westerwelle finally seems at home in his role as foreign minister. In the past, his appearances seemed very choreographed. But since the events in Egypt, accompanying journalists and others say the foreign minister has been gripped by a sudden passion. Westerwelle now intends to use events in the region to push through a new liberal foreign policy.
Here in Europe, I'm one of those who really likes to push for change and push hard, because I think it's also a question of values in the European community.
Westerwelle says freedom is not negotiable, and Germany must help people achieve it. That's why in mid-February, the German foreign minister became one of the first Western visitors to travel to post-revolution Tunisia. In the country where the fight for freedom first took off, his message was clear. The transition to democracy must also bring economic benefits. To help, he intends to remove barriers to trade with Germany. Slim Amamou, a member of Tunisia's interim government, hopes his country will receive help from friendly countries like Germany. And he says it's important to build on these relations for the future. Some days later, Westerwelle was warmly received on Cairo's famous Tahrir Square.
It's a very touching moment, something really special.
The foreign minister brought along an aid package to the tune of 30 million euros to help spur on Egypt's economy, its educational system, and the transition to democracy.
This is where the fight for freedom began, and we want to do our bit to ensure that it's successful for the people. We were lucky enough to have a democratic revolution in Germany, and we want the same for our neighbors, the Egyptian people.
At the meeting in Geneva, Westerwelle met with US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. In talks with her and other EU foreign ministers, he discussed further sanctions against Libya's Colonel Gaddafi and his ruling elite. Westerwelle also helped bring about Libya's suspension from the UN's Human Rights Council.
He's a dictator who wages war against his own people. He ignores international law and any responsibility to the international community. And that's why there can't be any other alternative. This dictator has to go. Mr. Gaddafi has to go.
Westerwelle isn't mincing words. He's become bolder since the opening days of the revolutions in Tunisia and Egypt, dispensing with his otherwise careful diplomatic tone. He views his role as an important one in the region, and is no longer willing to let southern European states dominate center stage there.
We want to cooperate long-term, not only in the transition to democracy, but also in taking positive steps for the families and people in the country itself. Part of this includes assistance in building democratic institutions, building an independent judiciary, and most of all, building economic cooperation that will improve the living conditions for the people. That is, incidentally, also the best way to tackle the influx of refugees.
In the long term, he says, Germany's economy and labor market would also reap rewards from this kind of partnership. And in the short term, Guido Westerwelle's reputation as foreign minister has been given a boost by his handling of events in North Africa.